Hey guys, it's Hollywood Studios here, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be a bit more of a negative or critical video than I usually do, but I figured it was about time we got something like this out, and this is my theme park pet peeves. Everyone loves going to an amusement park, or at least most people do. You get to ride your favorite rides, eat some food, and just overall have a great time. But, like every good thing in life, it doesn't come without its flaws, and these are my personal pet peeves that I tend to have at almost every theme park I wind up visiting. And this is not one park specific, this tends to happen across almost all of my park visits, and it's not necessarily something that ruins the visit. It has the potential to, however, it's just something I find pretty annoying, and we're going to start from when you first arrive to the park all the way until the end of your day at the park. The first issue I tend to have, the first pet peeve of mine at theme parks, are the oblivious drivers in the parking lot. Going to a park, you obviously, if it's your first time, don't necessarily know exactly where you're going. But that doesn't mean you decide to put everyone around you at risk by driving like an absolute idiot. I see it all the time at so many parks, and granted, especially at parks like Great Adventure, I know my route, I know how to get there, I know how to do what I have to do. But when you have someone that's driving either way too slow or way too fast, dodging in and out of lanes, driving like they are unconscious, it really creates a very stressful environment, and unfortunately there's not much theme parks can do about it. Granted, some entrances are more confusing than others, but especially in the case of the simple ones where people just cannot stay in their lane, they can't figure out how to drive appropriately, it is really frustrating and can definitely detract from the first experience getting into the park. Now, when you first do get into the park, sometimes you will deal with a line at the ticket booth. This kind of goes for all situations where you're waiting in line and you have to talk to someone or interact with a park employee. These are people that take way too long to do anything. For example, when you go up to scan your ticket, it should be as simple as scanning it and going. When you see that there's a long line behind you, there's no reason to stop and ask the person a million questions that can be answered either by looking at your phone, asking someone inside the park where there's not a line to get through, and instead they decide to inconvenience everyone and make everyone wait longer so that they can get their question answered. Granted, sometimes, like I said, theme park visits can be confusing. That doesn't mean you should inconvenience everyone around you just to solve your problem. Lines take forever, and they don't have to if people don't do stupid things like that. From there, when you actually get into the park, you have the slow walkers. Now, personally, I'll admit it, I'm a really fast walker. The way I look at it, I want to squeeze as much as I possibly can into the little amount of time that I have at a park, and sometimes that's very difficult with people that don't walk as fast. Now, I understand not everyone is capable of walking super fast, but that's why a lot of people will typically get out of the way of people that are walking fast, just like driving. Left lane for fast people, right lane for slow people. But at amusement parks, a lot of people seem to forget that idea of speed and wind up taking up the entire pathway, moving extremely slow. The worst is when you're in a queue. For example, a ride like Zumanjaro has an extremely long queue line, and if you get stuck behind someone who's walking really slow, it can take a while to get back there, a lot longer than I would normally want it to take. So that's what I mean by slow walkers. I'm not at all discrediting anyone that can't physically walk fast. I totally understand that. Usually those people are very kind and accommodating, but it's the people that purposely walk slow or walk slow and don't realize it and wind up inconveniencing others. From there, we have people that block the pathway. I understand if you have to regroup and talk to your group, find who else is around, figure out where everyone is. That doesn't mean you need to stand in the middle of everybody's way and block a main pathway. I see this at literally every theme park I go to, and it's very frustrating to have to dodge around people when you really shouldn't have to do that at all. Additionally, when you're walking around a park, I cannot stand loud music. Now, this is probably because of me constantly filming for YouTube, and the second copyright music gets in your video, you're screwed, you're claimed. And it's very frustrating to go in and edit it out, and I really wish theme parks would keep their music at a moderate level, not super quiet to the point where you can't hear it, but not ridiculously loud to where it's blaring your ears out. Another frustrating thing is people that talk obnoxiously loud to the person right next to them. Some days at amusement parks, especially hot days like in the summer now, it can be very tiring, draining, headache-inducing, and you just want to kind of relax. You're talking to someone next to you that you're waiting in line with, and you're keeping it at a quiet to moderate noise level, and then you have someone either in front of you or behind you that just starts practically yelling at the person next to them, and it just irritates your headache that much more. There's no reason to scream and yell at people that are right next to you. No reason at all, especially when people around you may not be wanting to hear that. Additionally, people, when you're entering a queue, and I have a larger group, people that decide to walk right in the middle of my group and then split us up in line, and then I have to let them go in front of me to catch up with the rest of my group. If you see that we're all talking to each other, chances are we're all riding together, so don't go in the middle of our group while we're entering the queue. We're all going to ride the ride eventually anyways, so there's no need to just try to dart in front of my group. Additionally, line cutters. I think this is on the top of everyone's pet peeves list at an amusement park. People that just cut the line and really don't care. Now, I understand some people want to go catch up with their group at the front of the line, and I have mixed feelings on that. Personally, I think that if you really want to ride with them so bad and you couldn't get in line with them, they should be going back to you. You shouldn't be cutting up to them, but that's a story for another day. The worst are the people that just come running through you like nobody's business, and it's really, really obnoxious and rude. From there, after waiting in the line, you get to the train or the car or whatever the ride may be. For argument's sake, let's just say you're getting on a roller coaster and you have people that are taking way too long to board the train. What that winds up doing is causing operations to slow down because they're taking forever to sit down, buckle their seatbelt if there is one, pull down their restraint, and it just slows the operations down a lot more. There's no reason to take forever to sit in your seat. You do what you gotta do, put your articles to the side if need be, sit down, buckle your seatbelt if it's there, and pull your restraint down. Another issue are people that don't pull down their restraint and wait for the operators to do it. I understand at some parks that is the policy, and I totally respect that. But at other parks, there are some situations where you don't want to get stapled, and that's another one of my pet peeves. Ride operators, and I have no disrespect to ride operators at all. I don't know how they're trained. I'd never have personally been a ride operator, but I'll be on a roller coaster. I won't have the restraint super loose or super tight. I like it so that it's not killing me. It's not super tight on me, but I still have some room to breathe, and it's still safe. But there's always that operator that just has to get it that 1 inch down, that one click down, and I just don't understand why. It winds up ruining the experience a lot of times for many people, not even just coaster enthusiasts. A lot of people don't like their legs to be killed by a restraint being stapled against them. It's really, really irritating. And on top of that, when you're on a ride like, say, El Toro, where there's a minimum verify, where the train cannot be sent unless all restraints are past that verify point, when people don't pull down their restraints quickly, that winds up making your car not verify. And what happens is they will come around and staple everyone in the car, still thinking it's not verified because that person didn't pull the restraint down, which can be pretty irritating. Again, no disrespect to ride operators at all. They have a very difficult job, and I highly respect them all, but these are just pet peeves of mine, like I said. From there, you're on the ride itself, and people just have to take out their phones or their vape or whatever they decide they want to use. It is so obnoxious and rude. People don't understand the extreme consequences that can come from that. Even if you think you have a good grip on it, there's no possibility, there's no guarantee that you're not going to let it go and it's going to go flying into someone's face and really injure them. It's always best to keep your items in a secure location. Whatever the rules are for that ride that you're riding, just make sure your items are in a good spot where they're not going to go flying, or they're in a locker where they're probably the safest. Another issue I have with rides are slow operations. Say you're at a big amusement park on a Saturday where it's super packed, there's a giant line, and the park is running one train on the coaster. That is super inefficient in my mind because you're just making people wait longer. And when people are in line, they're not making you money, they're just standing there taking up space. They're not buying food or buying merchandise or playing games, they're just waiting because you decided to not run another train to make the line go faster. To me, I think that is pointless, especially when ride operators then will not move as fast as they can to make the train get out quick, because then it just takes even longer for us to get on the ride. From there, you have food. Food is always an interesting experience at parks, as it varies from very good service to very bad service. I've had experiences from each extreme and in between, so I've definitely dealt with a lot. One thing I always dislike, though, are long food lines. Typically, when I'm at a park, the longest line I will have to wait for during the day is for food, which is really, really frustrating because I know that it's not hard to just get your food and go and pay or whatever you have to do. It shouldn't take as long as it does. especially when people have been sitting in a line for 10 plus minutes. They get to the front of the line and they don't know what they want to order. That to me is pretty ridiculous and something I've seen many times at theme parks, especially when their food service is not super fast. So you'll be standing at the pickup window and you see your food just sitting there on the hot plate waiting to be given to you, and it just sits there and sits there for minutes and minutes until it's finally given to you, and then it's not as hot or fresh as it could have been. I know that's a lot of complaining, but there is one more pet peeve of mine, and that goes with the exiting experience from a park. And I've experienced this so many times, and it really does irritate me. It's people that walk right in front of cars and act like they're not there. For instance, at Six Flags Great Adventure, when you're exiting the preferred parking lot, you have to ride along Superman and Green Lantern and go out that way. And whenever I'm pulling out of there and going onto that road, there's always people walking in the road when there's literally a pedestrian path dedicated on the right side. People still will walk in front of cars. Then you'll honk the horn, they'll look at you, and they'll take forever to move out of your way. It is really irritating, and people just need to be more aware so that everyone can stay safe and have a good time. Now, like I said, that was a very critical and negative video, but those are my theme park pet peeves. I'm sure many of you share similar pet peeves to me. Let me know down in the comments what things irritate you most about theme parks. And like I said, this video is not meant to degrade theme parks or make it out like I hate going to them. These are simply things that bug me. With every good thing in life, like I said, you'll have a great time, but there's always going to be one little thing that winds up making you a little irritated, and these are some of those things that I've noticed at theme parks. Again, though, there's plenty of other great positive experiences I have at theme parks that make up for these little pet peeves of mine. But with that being said, that's going to conclude today's video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.